Hello, this is Mark Sabatella from Outside Shore Music, home of mastering MuseScore. In this week's tip, I want to show you how you can add a pause in the playback of your score. Like you want several seconds of silence at some point in your score. I want to show you a couple different ways of doing this depending on your purpose. So one of the situations where this might come up is if you've got, say, multiple movements in a work, or multiple songs in a songbook, or multiple exercises in an exercise sheet, and you want to really separate them to say they're separate. The way you would do that is, say, for instance, after the second system, I want this next system here, starting with measure 9, to start a whole new section. The way I'm going to do that is select that measure, and then I'm going to come to the layout palette and add this guy here, this section break. When I do that, you'll notice it re-indents the next system. It starts the measure numbering over, but relevant to what we're talking about here, when I play it, it puts in a pause in the playback. All right, so when you have that kind of separation and you really want to say, yeah, these are separate pieces, that's how you do it. But what if you just want to pause for some other reason? Well, what we're going to do for this is we're going to use the breaths and pauses palette. So we need to add that. If you haven't added it yet, click the Add Palettes button, and you'll find the breaths and pauses palette here, and you can add it to your collection, and then you can drag it wherever you like. And now that you've added it, any of these symbols here, the caesuras, are really what you want. And I typically, it doesn't really matter which one you add. If you want it to show, if you want like musicians reading it to pause, I would pick the one that they're going to be most familiar with based on the style of the piece. And you'll find that depending on the genre of music, different ones of these might be what people are used to. But let's say I want to put a pause after this D here, the end of this measure. I'll select that and I will add one of them. I'm going to add the plain caesura, and I get this double stroke, and now when I play this, it pauses and then moves on. Now, if that pause is only there for, say, playback purposes, and you don't need it to show up in the score, like say this was 2 exercises on one system, just to show how that is, I might come over to the layout palette and add a horizontal frame to actually separate these two. Now I want these to play separately, but I don't really want to see that caesura. I just want it to pause there. Well, I can select it and press V to make it invisible. It'll still be grayed out on screen, but it won't print. Now when I play it, it'll play that first exercise and then pause and then move on. So that's a couple different ways of adding those pauses, and for both of them, if you select the caesura and then come over to the playback section of the properties panel, you can control how long that pause is. And a similar deal with the section break. If you select the section break over here, you can, in the properties panel, also set how long that pause is. So that's how you can add various types of pauses to your score in MuseScore.